Hey, hello again, guys. All right, so in the last video, we were setting up the audit trail for the transactions we perform within our application. Now, guys, look, I know that hopefully you guys were able to follow what I was doing within the previous video. I realized that I was bouncing around quite a lot, so again, apologies for that if you were not able to follow through, but hopefully you were able to follow what I was doing. So, but in any case, in this video, I want us to focus on showing the payment history page. Okay, so now the first thing I'm going to do is here within um, our application folder within the JSP file, we're going to create another one, and then we're going to call it payment history. Sorry, payment um, history. Okay, .jsp. Right, so now from the dashboard we're going to copy from where we're including the header all the way to the top, right, and then paste it there. And then from the dashboard again, we're going to copy only the footer this time around. All right. And then we're going to paste it here at the bottom. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so now, um, look, trying to write code within JSP, like I said, it's really tedious. You don't have access, we don't have access to Emmet or anything like that, or IntelliSense and so forth. So if you can, please just pause the video and copy all that you see here within what I've highlighted over there. Okay, it's much easier to do within VS Code, but again, what you call it, all I did here was just set up this table here so that we can be able to pull the payment history from the payment, what you call it, from the view we created for the payments. Okay, so yeah, just pause the video and copy all of that I've highlighted over here, because that's what we're going to set up within our application. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and then paste it here within paste it here within our um, what you call a payment history page. Okay, right. Oh, sorry. Let's copy that again. All right, we're going to set that in a container. Okay, so just remember. Oh, sorry, we need to also set that div. Let me cut that out again. So it's going to be div. And we're going to need to set the class of container. Remember, this is a Bootstrap class. Okay. All right. So we can then paste that table within here. Right. So what's happening here is we're checking for the payment history, what you call it, information. Then if there is any information available, we're going to display the table here. So here we're going to loop through the application, what you call it, loop through the payment information. So what then we need to do now um, is go within the payment history model and uncomment this. Remember in the last video we commented it out, right? So here we're gonna set, let's see, fee underscore payment. Is it payments? Yeah. So we're now gonna get payment ID, account ID, user ID, beneficiary, and so forth. So let's come back here. We're gonna say private int and then payment ID. Okay. Let's copy that. So this will be account ID. This will be user ID. Okay. And now the next thing is beneficiary. Okay. string. Copy this a couple of times. Okay, and then we need the account number. We need the amount. That's going to be a double. We need the status. It's going to be a string, and then reason reference number, sorry. And then we need reason code. Okay, let's copy that again. And what else? Oh, we need to create that. We don't need that last one. And then here we're gonna say we're gonna generate the getters and setters. Okay. All right. So now that we have that, so remember this this is the name of the class, right? But if the table isn't exactly the same as this, what you can do is then annotate this and say add table and then give it the name. The name is that. So that's how the Spring API will know that it needs to look within this table to map all this information. Okay. So now what we need is the payment repository. So we're gonna come in here, and then we're gonna create another class. Okay, it's gonna be an interface. We're gonna say payment history repository. Okay, payment history repository. Remember that because we have a payment repository already. Okay, so extends CRUD repository, and then we're gonna map it to the payment uh, history table. Then we're gonna say integer, and then let's not forget to say add repository. And then the other thing we need to remember is to also set this as the set that ID there. Okay, make sure that is important there. Okay, so now that we have this, what we then now need to create is the method that's going to pull this information. So I'm going to say add query value. It's going to be a native query. Okay, and then here we're just going to say select all from v underscore payments. It's v underscore payments now here. Where wait, hold on. V underscore payments. Okay, where the user ID equals to whatever user ID comes up there, right? Okay, so here we're going to create a list. Remember, we're getting a collection of payments of information, right? And we're going to map it to that payment history model. Import class. Okay, so get payment records by ID. Okay, then here we're going to say at param, and then here we're going to say user ID. Okay, it's going to be an integer. Then we're going to say user ID, right? Okay, so now what we need to do is come within the let's close that. We got everything we need here. Let's close that. Payment repository, we need that. Let's close this. We've done with that. We're also done with this. So we need to come within the controller. We're gonna go to the app controller now, and then here we're gonna create our get mapping for the payment history. So what we will name it is payment history. Okay, and so we're gonna say public, and then we're gonna say model in view, and then we're gonna say get. Right. So what we need, let's change this here. We're gonna set it here at the top. Okay, and then what else? Here at the top, we're also gonna call that uh, payment history repository. Okay. All right. So what do we need? We need to then now come down here, session. Okay. So the only user that can view this information is a user who's logged in. All right. So now within here, we're gonna say model and view get payment, which is going to equal to new model and view. So remember our page is called payment history. Okay, so we can say payment history. Okay, all right. So now we're going to get the user. So we're going to say user equals to dot get attribute. I'm going to say user. Okay, so now we're going to get okay. So now we're going to say list, right? And then we're going to say payment history, right? And then we're gonna get the user payment history, which equals to payment history dot get payment history by ID, and then we're gonna pull that from the logged in user, which is gonna be get user by ID. Okay. Then we're gonna set that within the we're gonna put that within the object. So we're gonna say get payment history page dot add object. Let's say payment history. Wait, what did we name that within the page? Okay, so make sure it needs to be the same as this, right? So let's just take that from the page and paste it there. And then we're gonna set that user payment history. All right, what else? I think that's all. Here we can then return um, get payment history page. All right, so we've set that as an object within the request scope, right? So this name is what we are accessing. If we come back to the payment history page, this is what we're accessing here within the request scope, and then we are looping through that payments history object that we set here. Okay, and then we set a variable. Remember, if you know how for each loops work, you get the items and then you set the variable. So it's kind of like saying for each payment history in, or for each payment in payment history and so forth. And then we are looping through that information over here. Okay, so I think we can then proceed to test and see if we are then we can display this information. But first, before we do that, we need to come back within our components, right? So what's this? Let's copy this name, right? We're gonna come into components. We're gonna go within the includes folder and then header, because this is where we set up our header, right? So here we can set up our links. So we're gonna say app and then dashboard. right? Here we're gonna say app and then payments, what we copied from there. So now remember the request mapping starts off with app and then dashboard, right? So make sure you do that in here, dashboard, right? And then because we are including that header within here, we should be able to have the same header as the dashboard, okay? So now let's try it and see if we did everything correctly. So remember guys, if you did pause the video, make sure you set it up the same way I did here, okay? So let's run the app and then we will test and see if we can view our payment history within our application. Um, I'm going to pause the video and then we will test it once it's back up. Right guys, so the server is up. So far no issues within the console. Let's now check and see if we can view our payment history information. Right, so Sam Davis, let's log in. All right, so if we click here, it should take us to the payment history page. And then if we did everything correctly, it should show a table of all the payments we've made, okay? So let's click here. Okay, there's an error. Right, non exception. Get payment history. Where's the issue? Okay, so the issue is somewhere here, all right? So what did we do here? Select all from payments where user ID equals user ID native query repository user ID int. Okay, all right. Let me test this. All right, so um, hold on. Oh, I think I know what's going on here. Oh wait, select. So who's the user who's logged in? Account ID. Okay, user ID is 2. Let me paste that again. Equals to 2. All right, so we do have information within here. So user ID, okay. Okay, so that's fine. So why is it saying null exception? Request failed, nested exception with root cause. Okay, why is it saying null exception? That's a bit odd. Get payment history. Alright guys, just give me a second. I need to just check this out. I'll be back. One moment for me, please. Alright guys, I'm back. Okay, so um we couldn't get the payment history records because again I forgot to actually auto wire this um what you call it, our repository. So yeah, okay, so I forgot to auto wire this, so that's why it's giving us that null exception pointer there. So I'm gonna stop this, redeploy the file again, and hopefully this time around it will show our information. So I think I got everything. All right, yeah, let's just give it a chance to deploy, and then yeah, we'll check it once it's back up. All right, guys, I'm back again. Okay, so I got another error. Um, I forgot to add the status property. I don't know how exactly I missed that, so we need to add this status property as well within the application. So yeah, I'm gonna copy that and then just say status. Okay, um, and then let's just come here between this and then just add a getter instead of for it. Okay, so we have the getter and set a state for the status property. Okay, so yeah, that's the error I got when I ran this the application. So it's like I told you, in the repository you have to make sure that the model represents the database exactly, because now when you pull all the tables it's going to look for all the properties that are there. And so if there's a field or column in here but it's not displaying here, it'll give these kind of errors. Otherwise you might have to set up some annotations for the to let the JPA know that to ignore that particular field and so forth. But in any case, I have to redeploy the file again, and yeah, hopefully that was the last issue. So okay, guys, just hold for me again, and then we will test once the application is deployed. All right, guys, the server is up. Let's test it now. Okay, uh, payment history. Okay. All right, so there's our payment history information. For but for some odd reason, it's not displaying the styling of the table. So let me just check that out. Payment history, right? We got the Bootstrap files over here, and the table class. Okay, that's a bit odd. What did I do here? Table. I just want to see what I did within the previous project. In any case, well, by default, this is supposed to give it some basic styling, so I don't know why it didn't pick up for that. But in any case, let's just deploy it again and see if it now displays accordingly. Right, I'm gonna pause the video while it deploys the application, so just give me a second there. All right, so the server is up again. Let's log out. Okay, so still not showing the styling of our application. And you know what? I think I put this within a Bootstrap card in the previous project. I think that's what I did. Um, yeah, I think that's what I did. But in any case, it is showing. We can see our payments over here, even though it's not the styling that I wanted. But yeah, if you yeah, that's how you would display your information. So we created our we're getting it from the payments obviously view, and so we then bind it our repository to that particular class that we set up here. So remember, if your table is named differently, you can just annotate it as add table, and then specify the name of the table in which you will find this. Again, if your columns are also different, you still have the at uh, what you call it, column annotation, where you can name the name of the column that you want if it's different from what you set within the property there. Okay, so you can also do that, and then you'll be able to map it. All right, so that's it for the payment history. In the next video, we will be looking at the transaction history, the table, and then we're going to be working on this link over here. All right, so that's what we're going to be working on in the next video. All right, guys, so that's it for the video. Again, even though we hit a couple of bumps as usual when it comes to Java, hopefully you guys were able to see what I was doing. And again, apologies for jumping back and forth all the time. Okay, so but in any case, yeah, that's it for the video. So again, guys, if you've liked what you've seen so far, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you within the next video. Cheers for now.